Today we're going to rank all seasons of the entire Toaru franchise, which includes Index, Railgun, and Accelerator. This franchise is huge when you look beyond the anime, with the novels, manga, games, and more, with it having a decent sized cult following in the West, with the franchise now being known as the weeb equivalent of the MCU, thanks to a YouTuber you may have heard of. We're going to rank each season of Toaru, starting with the first season to ever air in Japan, that being Index 1, and then finishing up with the latest animated edition, which is Railgun T. If you haven't watched the series yet, then there's going to be some minor spoilers, but nothing that will ruin your experience for good. Let's waste no more time and get started. I'm positive Index Season 1 was basically the gateway drug to many fans such as myself on the journey to becoming completely obsessed with this weird and wonderful universe of science and magic. But I never truly loved Index until I read the light novels. In Season 1 of the anime, I only really enjoyed Accelerator as a character, since his psycho personality resonated with 16-year-old edgelord me, who thought Light Yagami was cool. Nah, legit, Accelerator is arguably the only character in Season 1 who isn't shafted by the adaptation. Maybe throw Last Order in there too, since they kinda complement each other in a way, and I didn't really connect to their dynamic as Accelerator began his path towards redemption. I feel like the rest of the cast aren't fleshed out enough in comparison, as you don't really care about their goals or feelings. Like Toma, Kanzaki, Sherry, etc. all feel dull to me in the anime, which is strange because they had really engaging characters in the light novel. Plus you have all the cut content which I'm making videos about, such as the main character's backstory. Gee, that doesn't seem like it's important enough to include. It's not all bad though. Maiko Iochi's soundtrack has an ambience which perfectly suits the ominous tone of the series in dramatic scenes, in addition to the more light-hearted comedic tracks in the goofier scenes. On the topic of tone, the tone will change so quickly from serious to random-ass lolly fanservice moments, which kill the mood that it's trying to present. Oh, I realized I just went back to negatives again. I mean, it's cool to see Academy City animated, I guess. The unique ideas and concepts from the novel are still there, but not properly explained or well executed. The animation and fights are okay for 2008, but could have been way more consistent, as some fights look way better than others. Like Misha vs Kanzaki in the novel felt epic as hell, reading through that for the first time, an angel fighting a saint at supersonic speeds, while the planet is about to be nuked. And this is what we got? Jesus Christ. Index Season 1 probably deserves a C overall. Railgun Season 1 is next, and oh boy, the Moe Yori vibes in this was strong. If you've seen my Railgun 15 years on video, you'll know that the anime changed a lot from the manga by mixing up events, altering the personalities of some of the characters, and making an anime original arc, which is apparently canon somehow. Railgun Season 1 is more slice of life orientated than Index 1, which works as both a strength and failure, as the character interactions of the four main girls and even the side characters are often entertaining, and combining that with the sci-fi elements and environments makes Academy City feel alive. But at the same time, it can result in a lot of cringe moments that are hard to watch, mainly involving the teleporting lesbian Shirai Kuroko. Don't get me wrong, Kuroko is a good character, but Railgun Season 1 isn't the best example to illustrate that. She is literally insufferable at times with how she won't stop being a complete degen. The darker elements of the show balances the lighter moments, showing that Academy City isn't just sunshine and rainbows. The powers are interesting and cool due to how they are inspired off real physics, and the filler milk-a-dick Chad who can solo 100 guys with guns for no reason is the hidden MVP of this season. Overall, Railgun Season 1 is solid, but nothing exceptional. Making Railgun more of a moe show made it appeal to a wider audience at the time than Index, but its manga was more about the action and darker themes, rather than cute girls doing cute things, so it doesn't represent the franchise as a whole. This is also getting a C, but I'll place it above Index Season 1, despite the fact I think Index Season 1 has the better moments. Next we have Index 2. While arguably Index 1 has the better arcs in terms of the story, with the exception of the Academy City invasion arc, which is arguably the best adapted arc on the Index side of the franchise at least, and is definitely one of the best anime arcs in the entire franchise. Mainly because Accelerator and Kihara Amata screaming at each other like cracker dicks is peak entertainment. But the rest of the arcs, like the Book of the Law arc, Index's Diaseisai arc, and the fucking Ice Boats arc, which everyone shits on, my deepest apologies, Biagio, we know you're best girl. These arcs aren't exactly as good as the Index arc, Deep Blood arc, and Sisters arc if we are talking about the novel. But hell, Index 2 does suffer the same problems of Index 1 in terms of its story and direction, but it probably does the best job at adapting the novel than the other seasons. The animation is also a vast improvement from season 1, with the later episodes having a better art style and character designs than whatever we saw in Index 3. Also, the OST absolutely slaps. Maiko Iuchi, you are so underrated. This woman can literally do any style, the operatic Gregorian chants, electronic dubstep, heavy metal, heart-wrenching or playful and upbeat, while managing to combine these styles with an emphasis on the magic side music being traditional instruments while also using a choir, meanwhile the science side having music produced with modern technology. Like damn, it's so clever, I love it. Due to all this, I'm going to give Index 2 a B. I think that's fair enough. While I did say I'd be ranking the seasons, I did forget about something. The Index movie, of course. Miracle of Endymion. How could I have possibly forgot? Because it's mid. This movie takes place in between the first half of Index 2 chronologically, but it's definitely not an essential watch. It introduces 3 new characters, but none of them are compelling in my opinion. The magic revolving around miracles also seems far-fetched, with little explanation for how this shit works. Arisa's songs are nice, I guess, but she's just waifu bait to cover up for the fact that her, Shotora, and Lady Lee are pretty hollow and boring characters. The animation, though, is absolutely beautiful, arguably the best Index has to offer, but you expect that from a movie as opposed to a TV show. This movie is kind of pointless, and I would have preferred the budget went towards Index Season 3 instead, but that's another story entirely. Therefore, sorry Arisa fans, this is getting a D. Having good animation isn't everything, but apparently it is now thanks to the Demon Slayer fandom who only care about pretty colours. Hell yeah, we are at Railgun S, which is the spin-off second season. They had to make the sequels for Railgun Alphabet Spaghetti to be unique. But I have to say Railgun S, or at least the first 16 episodes of it, is probably the best animated Toaru content out there. The first half of the season is basically a remake of one of the arcs from Index Season 1, but focusing on Misaka Makoto instead, with many additional new scenes, while also vastly improving the older ones. They absolutely nailed the tone of this arc. It's gritty, dark, and has some really interesting philosophical themes revolving around what makes someone a person and if clones should have human rights. You can also really emphasize with the characters. The pacing is superb and the story, animation, and soundtrack are all sublime. What lets this season down is the second half, where it's yet another anime original arc. Yay! Fans like to criticize the Silent Party arc due to how bad it is, but it does have some cool moments such as Mugano destroying stuff, Nonotaba getting somewhat of a conclusion to her character that wasn't in the manga, Judgment all working together, and an Aogami Pierce cameo. However, the new villain group known as Study are contenders for the most uninteresting cookie-cutter villains in the entire franchise, or these pricks from the Accelerator manga. So unfortunately, the second half of Railgun S brings down what would otherwise be a top-tier Chinese cartoon. Since the first half was so good and an excellent adaptation, it definitely deserves a high A tier. I really want to put it in S tier, it's in the name, but my high standards say no. We fast forward 2,000 years later, as we were blessed or cursed with Index Season 3. Fuck my life. If you know anything about Index 3, you probably know it was rushed as hell and not given enough episodes to finish the first light novel series without rushing through every single arc. This results in terrible pacing and even more confusing events as not enough context is provided. Or blink once and you'll miss important plot details. You don't even have enough time to care about the new characters since they're not around enough to get attached to them. Also, the animation and designs are pretty janky. Like, how the hell did Accelerator's Black Wings go from this to this? There are some moments where the animation is better, but it's really inconsistent which is a huge shame considering we had to wait 8 years for a new season of Index. But I gotta admit, the background scenery is nice. That's a plus. There are a few scenes in Index 3 with Accelerator that are directed fantastically, such as his monologue, but these are few and far between. The rest of it sucked pretty hard. Such a shame considering Index 3 was adapting many of the best arcs in the entire franchise. If you want to see how badly it ruined the source material and how amazing Index can be, then I do highly recommend reading the light novel. Anyway, due to how disappointing Index 3 was, and it being the worst adapted in terms of its pacing, I have to give it a D. I'm not sure which is worse between it and Endymion, as they are bad for different reasons. Also, JC staff, if you do decide to make a New Testament anime, then please make it a long-running series, hire a new director, and give the hard-working staff enough time to give it justice, then I guarantee you it will make the monies. In the meantime, I'm going to be making plenty more Index and Railgun videos about the light novels and the anime, so subscribe if you're new and want to hang out with other Toaru fans. Misaka wasn't the only character to get her own spin-off. Accelerator was also given his manga, which was turned into an anime with a Certain Scientific Accelerator. I wonder how they came up with that title. The manga for Accelerator isn't exactly critically acclaimed, as despite giving one of the best characters in the franchise the spotlight, the story makes Accelerator feel like a side character in his own series at times, and doesn't really delve into what makes him a compelling character. Instead, it falls into the Accelerator trope of calling himself a villain all the time, while having occasional Vietnam flashbacks, without going in depth with his psyche and how he starts to evolve into a better person. I made a whole last video why the manga was a failure, so check that out. Despite these negatives, there were some good improvements, which makes me rank the anime higher than the source material, which is pretty rare nowadays. They devote more scenes to the other major characters and give them an extended backstory, and it was actually well written, making me care more about the Hishigatas and Esfa than I did in the manga. There are a couple episodes where the animation dips, but otherwise it's definitely better than Index 3's animation. The story adds some intriguing aspects to the lore of the series, but the story isn't exactly groundbreaking or anything. If you want a casual Accelerator adventure, with him doing his trademark hyena laugh and being an overpowered savage, you'll probably enjoy it. Just don't expect it to explore deep themes about morality or redemption like in the light novel. Also, if you like electronic heavy metal, you'll have a blast with the soundtrack. Therefore, Accelerator deserves a B in my opinion. He does deserve a more rich and impactful story, but I guess what we got was fine. Last but certainly not least, we have Railgun T, and oh boy, this anime is an absolute blast from start to finish, with it being the first season of Railgun not to have an anime original arc. Finally! Not only does it have the best animation out of all the Toaru seasons, but it also adapts its own version of the Daisei arc, which is another one of the best arcs of the series. It doesn't really explore as many complex themes as the Sisters arc, but it doesn't need to, as it has more of an action-heavy vibe if anything, and on that, it definitely delivers. It's not to say Railgun T has no philosophical themes, as the Doppelganger arc goes into the concept of the soul with its villain, which I really enjoyed. It's a superb adaptation. There are arguments to be made that the arcs after the Daisei arc aren't as good, but who cares? I'm viewing it as a full package, and the Indian poker arc is entertaining and solid as build-up to the Doppelganger story, which is very well directed in my opinion. If I have any negatives, it's probably the ending of the anime was kinda generic, and I don't like how they cut out the best doggo in fiction, but with the story ongoing in the manga, it seems that it would be hard to give it a satisfying ending whatsoever, so these are nitpicks if anything. Due to having both consistency and undebatable quality, Railgun T deserves the prestigious rank of S, and in my opinion is the best anime in the Toaru franchise, only rivaled by the first 16 episodes of its predecessor. Let me know if you agree with my rankings and post your own tier list down below. Also, check out these videos on screen now if you want to see more content.